Hello everyone, and welcome to the MagM coloring book tutorials. We will be exploring the different coloring techniques you can use to bring your pencil crayon skills to the next level. You're going to need a set of pencil crayons. I suggest a set of 24 or more in order to give you the best variety in color, and of course a handy dandy sharpener. Gotta keep those pencils sharp. In today's video, we're going to be over the stone line coloring page. We will be looking at how to create stone effects using pencil crayons. To get started, I'm going to pick out my colors. I'm going to need a dark, mid-tone, and light tone gray for the stonework. I want this line to have some mossy texture to it, so I'm going to pick out 4 different greens, one of which will look like almost a gray-green. This will help me blend. For my background, I'm going to take a dark and a mid-tone red. And as usual, I'm going to have my white and my sepia for highlights and shadows as usual. This color palette is pretty simple compared to the others, but that's perfect. I want to keep it simple. With my colors selected, let's get coloring. The first thing that I'm going to do is cover the whole drawing with a light coloring. For the stonework, I'm going to be placing a gray base on everywhere there's going to be stone. Because my background is going to have just one color, I'm going to leave it to the very end and not even fill it out yet, just in case I change my mind on the colors later on. With my gray areas determined, I can now start defining the shapes. I'm going to use a picture of a stone line to help me out, but I always remember that the area closest to the front is the lightest and those furthest away are the darkest. The use of lights and shadows is going to help give a three-dimensionality to this image. Once my shadows and mid-tone areas are defined, I'm going back into the drawing, blending all the colors together with my light gray tone. For now, I'm going to work with just the lion himself, as he will set the tone for the rest of the drawing later on. I like to imagine I'm chiseling the stone using my pencils to bring out the shape. Once I've defined the three-dimensionality of the line, I'm going to add some small stippling effects using my darkest gray in order to make it look like the stone itself has small pits in it. No stone line I've ever seen has ever been completely smooth unless it's inside. Then I go back into my drawing with my sepia to increase the contrast even more. Whenever I add sepia to blend it into the drawing, I use my light gray to blend my sepia back into the drawing to give it a little bit more smoothness. When I blend my colors, I tend to press hard in order to push the pigments from one color to the other. Once I'm happy with the look of my line, I can move on to the stonework frame. I approach it in a similar fashion where I determine which areas are more forward and keep them light, and the darkest areas which are furthest away from the surface will be much darker. I also take into consideration that the lion is sitting on the stonework, which will cast a shadow on the details below. I figure out my highlights and shadows, blending in all the tones with my light gray and adding stippling in with the dark gray to create those pit effects. Because my line is forward, I make sure that the stonework behind it is darker in color. I take my time as to not confuse the details. Once the stonework of the line is completely filled out, I add my background. I make it so the darkest red is right against the stonework, and then it transitions to the lightest red moving away from the stonework. I keep it simple, as the image itself is pretty complicated and I don't want it to be overpowered. Once the whole background is covered, I make sure that no details have been lost, and then I move on to the mossy texture. Using my second lightest tone, I go in adding green where I want the moss to have been growing. Where it goes is up to you. I make sure to add some of the green to the stonework behind the lion as well as on the lion itself. Then I go slightly darker and darker until it becomes a little bit more like a mossy texture. Then I blend it into the stonework with my gray-green. Once that is finished, we're done. And the great stone lion is finished. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this brings your coloring skills to the next level. Remember to have fun with your coloring, and remember where your light source is. Please share your finished drawing on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok using the hashtag MAGAMColoring2022. And with that, we will see you next time. Happy coloring!